Hey everyone, 2025 is here, and this is going to be another year of absolute bangers when it comes to video games. I wanted to show you guys the top 10 games coming out this year that I am most excited about, so stay tuned. If you enjoy JRPG, Dragon Quest, or just video game content, please remember to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to all. Now let's begin.
Number 10.
Alright, so starting things off at number 10, we've got kind of a tie here. I'm kind of skeptical on these ones, but I have been a fan of Double Dragon since I first played a video game. That's right, Double Dragon 2 on the NES was the first video game I ever played. My mom and I played it way back when it first came out, and I instantly fell in love with the game, and it made me fall in love with video games. So Double Dragon Revive is definitely on my radar. It doesn't look all that great, but I'm still kind of excited to see more from it. Maybe they'll improve upon kind of what we saw in some of the trailers and stuff like that. Double Dragon Gaiden Rise of the Dragons was so freaking good, so I'd hate for them to take a step backwards, but we'll see. And it's tied with the new upcoming Streets of Rage game. Streets of Rage 4 is like the best beat 'em up game of all time. If you've never played it and you like old school beat 'em ups or even new school beat 'em ups, be sure to check that game out. It is so incredibly well done. And recently Sega announced that they're going to be giving some new life to a bunch of their older franchises, and in their trailer they released last year, they showed some footage of a new Streets of Rage game, and I gotta say, just like with Double Dragon Revive, I'm a little skeptical on this one. Kind of turned it into like more of a 3D looking beat 'em up, which I guess can be okay, but we'll have to see more from it before we can really judge too much.
Number 9.
Next up at number 9 is another game I'm a little suspicious about, but also very excited to see more from, and that is Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. Metal Gear Solid 3 is one of my favorite games of all time, especially on the PS2, and they're doing a remake of it in like a modern engine in full HD 4K glory. I am looking forward to seeing more from this, but with Hideo Kojima not really being in the helm or having anything to really do with the project, I'm a little suspicious, but I don't know, maybe it'll turn out okay. I also kind of feel bad buying a Metal Gear Solid 3 remake after how Konami treated Hideo Kojima, but yeah, this is one that I'm kind of excited for, but also kind of on the fence about. Now let's get into the heavy hitters.
Number 8.
And number 8 is Fatal Fury City of the Wolves. Man, it's been a long time since we've gotten a Fatal Fury game. I used to play a crapload of, I think it was called Fatal Fury Special Real Bout back in the day. I have the Fatal Fury Anthology collection or something like that. Anyways, it's got all the Real Bout games and Real Bout Special, and they are just absolutely incredible fighting games. To get a new Fatal Fury game, kind of in that same vein, I know it's probably going to be more like Mark of the Wolves was back on the Dreamcast, which wasn't necessarily my favorite in the series, but this game looks beautiful. I've heard nothing but good feedback from people that have played the game, so I'm really looking forward to seeing more and maybe even getting my hands on Fatal Fury City of the Wolves.
Number 7.
And number 7 is Suikoden 1 and 2 HD Remaster, coming out for all modern consoles. I am so excited that people are going to be able to get their hands on these games without having to fork out upwards of $200 just to play one of these games. The first two Suikoden games are so well done. I haven't played any past the first two, unfortunately. And you hear a lot of people saying that the second one is the best, one of the best games of all time. It's a fantastic turn-based JRPG. The combat is very fast and streamlined. You've got a party of 6, and they can like all basically attack at the same time. The one downside I've always had kind of with the series is that it kind of discourages grinding. So the more that you grind, once you kind of hit the level that the story thinks you're supposed to be, you'll kind of just stop gaining all that much EXP. Like, you'll get some, but not as much as you were before when you were grinding against those same enemies. There was a bug in, I think it was the second one, where you could like push or clip through a wall, and then you could get to an area much earlier than you're supposed to, so you could grind and get a little over leveled, which is stuff I like to do. But anyways, Suikoden 2 is incredible, but so is Suikoden 1. Do not write off Suikoden 1. In fact, I would highly recommend playing the first game before the second, because they do connect in some ways, and the main character from the first game shows up as kind of like a bonus character in the second, and is incredibly OP in that game. Anyways, Suikoden 1 and 2 HD Remastered is my number 7 pick of the year.
Number 6.
At number 6 is The Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky the First. The title is a mouthful, but this is a series I've wanted to get into for a very, very long time, and I'm glad that they're kind of making a more modern and approachable version of the earliest one in the Trails of the Sky series. I do want to get into this game by playing, I think it's called like Dragon Slayer back on like the TurboGrafx. I kind of want to start from the beginning of the Legend of Heroes series, but this does mean that later on down the road when I do get to the Trails in the Sky series, I'll be able to play kind of a modern remake. This game looks phenomenal, the graphical style is great, the characters look fantastic, the combat looks exciting, and I cannot wait to play this bad boy.
Number 5.
At number 5 is Ys Memoir, The Oath in Felghana. Ys is another series that like I've always wanted to get into. I played 1 and 2, books 1 and 2, back a couple years ago, and I really didn't like them all that much. Like, I beat the first one, barely, and then I started playing the second right afterwards, and I was like, dude, this is just the exact same freaking game. I hate mazes, so that might have been a big part of it. The game was a lot of mazes. But everyone keeps telling me that the series gets way better later on, and I do like to start earlier in a franchise. I'm not one to just jump in at the 8th entry, and everybody says like Ys 8 is like the best game of the series, but I just don't like jumping in super late into a series. I like to start at the beginning. I've played Ys 1 and 2. I didn't really like them all that much. This is a remake of Ys 3, and it looks really good. It looks like very action-packed, a lot of platforming and stuff like that. I'm not the biggest like 3D platformer, but this looks like almost like a cross between like 2D and 3D. So I'm pretty excited to check this one out. When it comes out quite soon, actually. I think it comes out like January 7th.
Number 4.
And number 4 is the Lunar Remastered Collection. This is a series that I can't say enough good things about. Lunar is like a coming-of-age story for the characters in like a Dragon Quest vibe world. If you like Dragon Quest games, love Dragon Quest games, and you love like 80s, 90s anime, and you just love coming-of-age stories and great turn-based JRPGs, you are gonna love these games. These are like some of the best games of all time. The only reason these games aren't higher on my list is because like I just recently played them on the PS1 like a couple years ago, so it's not like I need to get my hands on them, you know what I mean? Like I just freaking played the games. But I do absolutely love Lunar 1 and 2, and I can't wait for you guys, if you haven't played it, or if you just haven't played it in a really long time, to be able to get your hands on like a modern remaster of these games. I'm excited to see how good this game looks in a remaster. I'm a little concerned because there's this whole thing where like Gung-Ho isn't necessarily going to be using the same dub that Working Designs did, and that has like a lot of charm and nostalgia for myself and a lot of other people that grew up playing these games. It's kind of like this whole toss-up of what's better, going with the original artist's intentions. I think it was Game Arts that made the Lunar series. When Working Designs would like translate the games, they would add a bunch of like pop culture references and jokes and stuff like that, and we kind of loved that and appreciated that. But at the same time, authenticity is also like a big factor for a lot of people. So I don't know, maybe we'll be getting a better translation. In some people's opinions it'll be better, in some people's opinions it'll be worse, because it might not have that nostalgic factor where we're like playing a game that we kind of loved, but it's not exactly the same translation and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Anyways, make sure you grab the Lunar HD collection when those bad boys come out. I think they're supposed to come out in like spring.
Number 3.
Another excellent looking game coming out in spring is Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Oh my god, does this game look good. This is going to sound ridiculous, but this game looks like what we thought we were going to be getting when we saw the trailers for like Final Fantasy 13 back on the PS3. I remember seeing that trailer and like that flow of the combat and how everything was like, it was still like turn-based at the time, but it still had like this realistic movement and flow to it that just looked phenomenal. That is what Clair Obscur Expedition 33 looks like, but in like modern Ultra HD graphics. Oh my god, I can't say enough good things about this one. The story sounds like it's like this big epic journey that you're going on. I love games with a sense of adventure, and I feel like this is going to have that. It looks a little bit maybe more dark than something that I would normally play, but honestly, it looks so freaking good, and I can't wait to check this one out. Like I said, pretty sure this bad boy comes out in the spring as well.
Number 2.
And number 2 is the continuation of a 2D action platformer series that I have loved since my young days on the NES, and that is Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. Ninja Gaiden Ragebound looks freaking incredible, man. My favorite Ninja Gaiden game to date is the one on the Master System, and this looks like it takes a lot of inspiration from that in terms of like locations and gameplay elements and stuff like that, so I'm really excited to see that in a modern game. The 2D Ninja Gaiden games are just so well done. They're like the perfect difficulty where it's like so incredibly hard, but once you pass a stage, it just feels so damn good. So I'd like to see what they have for like accessibility options and stuff. I would almost like to see them have like infinite continues or something like that, because to me, in a game, as long as you can like beat that spot, you can beat that spot, you know what I mean? I hate to get kicked all the way back to the beginning, replaying the whole stage, or worse yet, replaying the entire game to get caught up where you last died. I think kicking you back to the start of the game doesn't really give you that chance to learn it as well as it would if you had like something like infinite continues or something like that. I love the classic Ninja Gaiden games. I'm glad to see they're getting more 2D love for that franchise, and this is like, yeah, one of my most anticipated games of the year by far.
Number 1.
At number 1, you pretty much knew it had to be here. Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake. There's no like announced date for this one yet. I've been saying it's probably going to come out in the spring so we can get a new trailer revealed for Dragon Quest 12 in the summer, but honestly, with Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D Remake coming out just in like November, I think they might want to wait a little bit longer, and it might not come out until the summer. But I do really hope we do see some more of Dragon Quest 12, possibly during like Tokyo Game Show or something like that, or Summer Games Fest next year. But for right now, Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake is my number 1 game I'm looking forward to in 2025. I think with what they did with Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D Remake, it sets the bar so incredibly high for 1 and 2, because they added so much content to Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D Remake. They made it so much better than it was back on like the NES and even the Super Famicom version. It was just so well done, and with how bare bones Dragon Quest 1 and even really Dragon Quest 2 are, I think they could really take it up to the next level by adding even more of these things to that game. I think there's like limitless potential to what they can do with Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake, because there's so much room for growth and improvement with these games. Anyways, these are my top 10 games I'm looking forward to in 2025. Let me know down in the comments what yours are. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please remember to like, subscribe, and turn notifications to all so you won't miss the next one. And if you want to hang out live, be sure to check me here on YouTube as well as on Twitch at twitch.tv/Dookie03 at least 3 nights per week. We started Fantasia Neo Dimension, which is another game I've been like looking forward to forever since it was announced on Apple Arcade years ago. So I'm so glad to be able to get my hands on and finally play Fantasia Neo Dimension as well. It's Hironobu Sakaguchi and Nobuo Uematsu's latest work. These are the guys that brought you like Final Fantasies 1 through 10. Absolute freaking legends when it comes to the JRPG genre, and I can't wait to get further and further into this game. Anyways guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.